Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Let me tell you a tale. The time is, 10 o'clock in the morning. The date is anywhere from about 1890 to 1910. And you're in northern Arizona, southern Utah, around the Rockies. You're a fellow who moved out to the west from, say, Kansas City or someplace like that. And you got a horse, and you rode out on the train, but you bought a horse, and you got your sidearm, this. You got a lever action to go with it. Both of them are the same caliber. This is in 3220. It isn't as popular or wow as 45 Colt or 4440, but it works. It was cheaper, you could afford it, and it's a good quality round, and it'll get the job done. Okay, you're out on the trail. You got a campfire lit. You got your bedroll handy, and you got through making your stew for the evening. And you've been out hunting. You've been on the trail of a whitetail, and you finally cornered him in a box canyon and shot him. Dressed down the meat and brought it back, and you got it stacked up to jerk. And you're thinking, well, I used up a whole lot of my rounds. All I got left is this silly brass. Well, when you were in town, you went over to the hardware store or the mercantile, and you bought yourself some pack of primers and some powder. Doesn't matter, could be black powder, could be any of the more modern ones. There's a new company called Hercules that was making this fancy new smokeless powder. Could use that. Anyway, so you sit down by your fire, and you got this tool. This is an Ideal tool. Ideal was a company that went under, I think, about 1919 and got bought out by, I think Lyman was the company that bought them out. But this is an all-in-one reloading tool. Now, YouTube, what I'm about to talk about is an old American tradition. It has been with us for well over 100 years, and is something that Americans all strive to do, love to do. I am not going to talk about how to make it. I'm not going to show the mechanics of it. I'm showing how it was done historically in the late 19th, early 20th century. Well, with that said, so the cowboy sits down by his campfire, and when he bought his powder, back then, Hercules at least, I don't know about the others, but they used to pack them in a can that was made of lead. It's handy. It kept them dry. It kept them protected. It was pretty well shock resistant. Weighed like a ton, but it worked. Well, they sold it to you in that lead can. So what you did is you poured it into your powder horn, and you took the can and stuffed it into your saddlebag. So you get a Bowie knife out, and you chop a piece of it off and stick it into a cast iron ladle you got there and shove it into the fire. Then you pour it into here. The sprue plate on this one was busted, and I made a new one. And you mold yourself some more, I think it's 311 or thereabouts, 310, 311 size bullets, about 70 to 100 to 120 grain. And you drop them out. And, well, this cuts the sprue off the end of the lead bullet. And you drop them down into, say, a blanket or a hide you got handy. Then you take your brass, and some of it, okay, well this one's, see, it's spent brass. It's been hit by a firing pin. So you take your brass, and the first thing you want to do is make sure it's sized right. Well, 3220 has a slight rim right here. So what you do is you shove her in here. Let me see if I can figure this out. Yeah, shove her in here, get it all set up right. And, oh no, I got it wrong. I got it wrong. You shove it in here, that's it. Shove it in here and push just a little bit to seat that, to bend that rim so that it's the correct distance and all that. You better assume that, that you've been shooting mild loads and therefore it hasn't stretched your brass any. Then you take a dipper and dip out the proper amount of powder. It's not much, just a pinch. Unless you're using black powder, you can fill it up to about yay with black powder. Then you take those bullets you just made. Now I don't have any bullets from this. All the molded bullets I've got, I discovered I've already used. But this is some hollow point copper jacketed ones. So you put your bullet back on here. Shove your well, actually, first before you did any of that, you take a nail and a rock, and the butt of another rock or a hammer or something, and you knock out this primer. Then you take some of your primers and use this gizmo to, let's see if I can figure this one out. Yeah, put that like that, and use that to push a primer into the pocket like that. Then, this is an old tool. This is an old tool. Like I said, the company that made this went out of business in 1919. Anyway, then you go back to this thing you used to size it, and put the bullet on, put the powder on, put it back in, and push it all the way down, and that pushes the bullet down into the brass. So now you've got, hopefully, the correct length. I'd have your gun handy so that you can try this out and make sure you got the length right. And now you got more ammo. You spend the evening making up, say, 10 or 20 of these, and you got enough for tomorrow's hunt or for whatever else you're going to do. Then you get back over and jerk that meat. You got a smoky fire going on here, and you got the hot sun coming up tomorrow. You can get your meat prepped so that you can take it with you. Anyway, that's how our ancestors used to do it. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't as in Sammy specs as the modern stuff, but it worked. Like I said, this is a 3220. It's a beautiful old gun. It works like a champ, and I love it. I've got one in 45 long Colt, but I've had this one for many, many years. And this is a single action, so it's got a loading gate. Put it into half cock, then run out your shells, and then load in the new ones. Put in one, roll past the next, and then put in 4 more. Always load this with 5 shots, never 6. So that when you put the hammer down, it goes down on an empty chamber. Otherwise, bam, and you could have this thing go off right in your face. It's just something you do. You'd only put 6 in there if it was right in the middle of a gunfight. You're behind the wagon, and the Indians are attacking like a Randolph Scott movie. That doesn't happen very often. Anyway, that's just the way I know it happened back then, and I just thought I'd pass it on. Happy trails.